in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to starch the little trinket box that I made with the crochet thread. So if you've seen the previous tutorials, then you know this is the last tutorial in this set where I showed you how to make this little gift box or trinket box. If you haven't seen the previous videos, I will leave links down in the description box below where to find those tutorials if you want to go ahead and make the little basket and the lid and the little rose. Now the rose, we will not need to starch that. You can if you want, but it really isn't necessary, so I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. So what we're going to do is we need some starch. I'm going to use the Purex Sta-Flo liquid starch. You can also use a spray starch if you wanted to, but I'm going to use this where basically we'll pour some into a bowl and we'll dip our crochet thread item into it, and then we will let it dry. So let me go ahead and begin to show you how to do that. So this is the little bottom part of our little trinket box, and this will be the lid. So in order to starch it, to let it dry, I'm using an 8-ounce mason jar, and this one is the brand Kerr, K-E-R-R. It's a wide mouth mason jar, and I have the plastic lid. Now this plastic lid, I got this at Walmart, and instead of using the metal lid, this is perfect for this. What we're going to do is we need a little bowl to pour the liquid starch in to dip our crochet projects into. So I'm going to go ahead and just put this paper plate underneath it because it might get a little messy. And then I'm going to pour some of the starch into this bowl. You don't really need a lot for this one because it's a small project. You can always add more if needed. Now it's a little bit messy, so I am going to go ahead and put gloves on. Now I'm going to dip the lid in first, and you just want to kind of soak it really good. Okay, get that really wet. Now I'm going to go ahead and move this off to the side because I am going to need to put this here, the lid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to squeeze out the excess starch. Like that, and then I'm going to shape it over to, and then I'm just going to place it over the lid, stretch it onto the lid. And if you don't want to put it directly on the lid, you can always put some like saran wrap on it, but because this is plastic, when it's dry it'll slip right off very easily. So now you just want to stretch it over the lid. It might be easier to turn it upside down to do it, which actually seems to be working better. Okay, so then just stretch it on. Just get it stretched the way you want it. I'm going to try to line up the edges with the edge of the cap here. Okay, so you know, just go ahead and line it up the way you like when it gets to the place where you want it. You know, making sure that this is kind of centered in the cap and flattened down. Press it down and make sure it's nice and straight. And then get the edges down as even as you can. Okay, I'm just making the edges as even as possible. And now, make sure that this definitely is not bubbling up because you want that to lay flat and nice. And you can check it in a little while and kind of stretch it a little bit more as it dries a little bit as well. You can always come back, you know, before it's fully dry, you can continue to, you know, move it and, you know, squeeze down the edges and try to line that up to the bottom of that cap as close as possible and as evenly as possible so that it will look nice when it's done. Okay, so that's the cap. Now what you do is you set that aside to dry. And I would say probably, you know, leave it overnight if you can. Definitely at least probably 6 hours. Now I'm going to go ahead and dip the bottom part of our little basket into the starch and get it nice and soaked in there. And then make sure it gets all in there nice and wet into every little stitch and crevice there. We want to basically saturate the whole project. And then you want to squeeze out any excess starch. Okay, so I have that pretty well saturated. So I'm going to go ahead and set this bowl aside. And now I'm going to get my little mason jar here. Turn it upside down. And I'm going to stretch the little basket over the mason jar. Okay, what's this folding over here? Let me straighten that out. Okay, you just want to push that down, slide it down the edges here. Okay, you want to make sure you kind of line it up on the edge here on the bottom. Kind of see where that ridge is. That's where that needs to be center of the bottom here. And just kind of move it down. Try to line it up with that ridge as close as possible and evenly, so that way it dries nicely. Try to have like a straight edge to our little basket, our little gift box. Because this really can be used for anything, you know, like it can be used for a little jewelry box or a little gift box if you're giving someone a piece of jewelry. You can use it for potpourri since it has the holes in it. It will, you know, be perfect for that as well. So it has many uses. You can use it as a little mason jar cozy. So now I have that pretty well straightened here. And like I said, you know, let it dry now until it's completely dry, and it will stiffen up. And you know, before it's completely dry, every so often just come back and check, and you know, slide it down a little bit more and shape it more if you need to. You know, like this lid, I might need to check on that from time to time to try to get that, make sure that's nice and straight. As it dries, it'll be probably a little bit easier. You know, you have to get it before it dries completely, but as it dries and gets a little bit easier to move down, you just want to keep stretching it. So basically you have an opportunity to straighten it out before it dries completely later on. So I always check on it whenever I'm starching something to see if I need to readjust it or slide it down before it dries. Alright, well, that's how you start your crochet projects. Okay, so I let my little trinket box dry overnight after starching it with the Sta-Flo, and I'm ready to show you what it looks like. I did let it dry overnight. I mean, usually it will dry depending on the humidity. I would say 4 to 6 hours. You should see that it should be dry enough, but I just let it dry overnight. So I'm ready to go ahead and remove it from the glass mason jar and remove the lid from the plastic lid, and then I'll show you what it looks like. So let's go ahead and just push it off here. There we go. So that is the little basket. How cute is that? Isn't that adorable after you starch it and stiffen it? And then let's go ahead and remove the lid. That came off really nice and easy. Oh wow, that is so cute. Look at that. It fits just perfectly. I love how that came out. So now I did not stiffen the rows. You definitely can if you want to, but it really isn't necessary. I did add a little pearlized bead. It's a white pearlized bead, and it looks just like a little flower, so it looks adorable. So I'm going to go ahead and attach that to the lid, and I'm just going to use a little crochet thread to sew it on. Alright, so let me go ahead and sew that on. I'm just going to center it right here, turn the lid over, and just stitch it on. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this tail all the way through, and then I'm going to thread it on the other side. And then sew that on here. Pull it all the way through to the other side. And then I'll go ahead and tie it once or twice here. Okay, and then I'm going to sew it a couple more times. This is just adorable. I love the way it came out. It does take a lot of steps to make it, but it's really worth it. It's so pretty when it's done. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and bring that to the other side, and I'm just going to tie it a couple times. And now our little trinket box or basket is complete. How cute is that? You can use it for a little jewelry box or a gift box. It's really cute. You could even use it for potpourri. And I just love the way it came out. Okay, something else I wanted to mention too. So when you stiffen the crochet thread, if it doesn't come out quite the way you want it to, the good news is you can wash this and redo it if you needed to starch it again. So if it wasn't even around the edge, or you didn't like the way the edge looked, or if you didn't get the lid on there stretched out the way you like, you can wash this and then just re-starch it, and then that way you can get it to look the way you want. So it's, you know, once you starch it, if you use glue, like sometimes I do stiffen things with glue instead of the starch. If you use glue, then that one really, you can't really wash it and redo it. That's more like, I always use that when I make snowflakes because I think it holds up better over the long term. But this, for something like this where you may want to wash the item, you definitely want to use a liquid starch, such as the Sta-Flo starch, or even like the spray starch. You definitely want to do that, because then that way you can wash it and re-starch it. So I hope that you enjoyed the tutorial today. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, and I want to thank you for watching today.